Hi, what's going on? Song of the day for the Cotton Candy Clouds podcast is Summer Madness by Kool and the Gang. Happy SatARTday. Happy Saturday. It's another Saturday episode. Another beautiful day that's brought you back to, or for the first time, the Cotton Candy Clouds podcast. Family reminder, I am a Black woman Southern that discusses too much of nothing and a little bit of everything with a myriad of theories and perspectives on a smorgasbord of topics. With an appetence for randomness, highlighting unimportant opinions mixed in with it all, this is the Cotton Candy Clouds podcast. Welcome. What's going on? Again, happy Saturday. Happy Juneteenth. Happy World Cup. Happy Knicks in 5. Happy Obama building in Chicago. Like, it's been a lot, and I love that because, yeah, we needed that. And it's a good segue. This past week has been a great segue into the season of summer, I think. You know what I mean? The liveliness, the ebullience of it all. Speaking of ebullience, word of the day is ebullient. It is an adjective, and it means overflowing with fervor, enthusiasm or excitement, high spirit. And I feel like worldwide even, which is a crazy statement, but even worldwide, there has been ebullience in the atmosphere. There's a lot going on in general, but the spirits are high because you have so many things that have happened this week alone. I feel like June is thick. It's been thick. And it can only mean that we're going to have an even thicker summer. Okay? So I don't even know where to start. Let's start with Knicks in 5. Okay? And here's the thing. Okay? So know that I'm always on the fence with watching sports because politics and events and all that. And to be quite frank, in terms of male sports, because of how these organizations handle horrible athletes, as in horrible character athletes with the rapes and the domestic violences and different things and just the recklessness, it's kind of hard. And then, after Colin Kaepernick situation, it was just hard to kind of engage in male sports. It was just crazy. Okay, but however, too, I will always say there's something quite magical about watching sports sometimes. And sports, I will say, is number 3 on the list of things that can bring people together. Holla at me on social media for 1 and 2, okay? So during this Knicks in 5 situation, I just genuinely felt joy in my heart watching the clips. And I gotta say, I was fascinated. I felt like I was watching at least 90s basketball. You know what I'm saying? If not early 2000s basketball. And again, sports have changed. We've always had corrupted athletes and organizations and owners, etc. Don't get me wrong, but I just felt like the Knicks in general were bringing that old soul spirit feel good situation to the playoffs and the finals, and they won. They got the championship, and I think that's great, and congratulations to them. And I don't know if y'all feel like this, but you ever the only male sports team that I really enjoy is the Braves, right? That's baseball, okay? And that's going on right now too. Shout out to the Braves. But I think for me, even though that's the only team I like, I do love fandom. I love the fans of sports teams because to me, it's their spirit. And the Knicks have that thing where it's the soul and the spirit of the fans that carries on. I'm in GA, and I think the Falcons, to me, are the same in that it's the spirit. Now, with the Falcons, they've been way more disappointed than the Knicks, to me, But what I will say is I get the fandom. I get the passion of loving something, a person, place, or thing, and being a representative for that person, place, or thing, and loving it and wanting it to win. I get it. That's the spirit of sports, right? Without all the hoopla And so the Knicks, Spike Lee, I love me some Spike Lee, if you didn't know. And, this was for him. This win was for him. It was for those players who lost in the 90s. I don't know what year that was, but they lost in the finals. And it was for everybody. It was for the city. It was for New York City. It was just good. And I was like, wow, and I was just happy. I was rooting for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, I love New York, but I was like, yo, I'm really rooting for these people, regardless of any affiliations that I might have, to the South or whatever. And so if you are Knicks fans, congratulations, because I feel like they did it for y'all. And then one thing about the New Yorkers is, again, their spirit, their ebullience, if you will, climbing those damn poles, Lord. The man balancing the television on the bus. Like, sometimes I feel for people, because I understand the internet is a wild place and a dangerous place, but y'all have to understand TikTok is where it's at in terms of live feeds, live footage of the good, bad, and ugly. But in this circumstance, during this week, the great. It was hilarious. It was enjoyable. It was fun. Now, one thing I can say, and I have to shout out the Knicks again for this, is that they played good basketball to me. I'm in and out of basketball, and mostly out, but from what I observed, I felt like the one tall man, who I think is nicknamed Alien, matter of fact, from on the Spurs, I think he was overhyped. He's a young man, very, very young man, and he was overhyped, number one. And number two, I just feel like out of all the clips I watch of even old basketball from the 80s and how violent, my goodness, they were on the court, he did something a little bit too far for me. Because when you try to step on someone's kneecap or their ankle, when you purposely try to lift your big ass leg and step down on their ankle or their knee, something's psychologically wrong with you. Especially since this is not football. We don't have pads. It's just a raw leg that you're trying to step on. It just looked and felt terrible, because I feel like there are limits. I feel like as much fighting has gone on those NBA courts, there are boundaries, if you will. You know what I'm saying? In any fight, even in boxing, in any sport, even with the gladiators, I feel like we can say and establish that there's a griminess to an opposer when they're doing shit they shouldn't be doing. And I can't respect the Spurs or anybody who defends a person doing that. And that for me was wild. But I'm glad that the Knicks were able to overpower that with good fundamental and street basketball. Okay? Every player did they thug thizzle. The coach, I love his resurgence. I mean, the whole story, each player is just a feel-good story. And I hate, the sports genre in general, especially with male sports. They love to get a sob story, like a drudging, horrific storyline. My mama, found me in a dumpster type story. But no, these stories were those true feel-goods where it was like, we worked our way up. It was just about hard work and passion. And I like that. Nothing too crazy, but still a unique story. You have a father-son team situation. You have people who, by the way, sportscasters, analysis, critics, what the fuck's wrong with them? I mean, they be going in. If you don't love yourself, my God. Anyway, they doubted these people, the naysayers. It's a mixed bunch, but they are a team, they're a family in the love of basketball. I'm sorry, I'm just impassioned, okay? And I think we all were, and I think we all, even if no matter who you were rooting for, you could feel that. And again, Spike Lee, it was just like, Marisha Hargitay, like you wanted the people too, like the fans. Now I'm naming celebrities, but just the real, I won't say down home because it's New York, but just the real New Yorker fans for the Knicks. I love that. And so shout out to them. And then for another tidbit on sports, you have the FIFA situation. Okay, so as y'all know, technically North America, it's so much tea to this. It's so much information, okay? So North America, excuse me. And you know what? Side note, you know how I do. Let's yap and yammer up in this thing. Side note, I low-key hate when people say America. And I know a lot of people always say that Americans just say that, but some Americans, including myself, I don't like that because it is an entire continent, because it's like, what part of America? I'm in the United States. Somebody else could be in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Guatemala. Let's specify, y'all. Anyway, so North America itself is hosting the FIFA World Cup, right? Turns out the U.S. really didn't even want to do it. It was really Mexico and Canada, right? But because we in the center, and we have the most land that can be, inhabited and played on or whatever, and we got basically the most space, I guess we was like, hey, we are united on this front. And I remember, this is years ago. So then I live in Georgia, which is one of the host states. And remember I was complaining and telling y'all about how the roads weren't finished. They was trying to shut it down on Mother's Day. That was crazy. And we just were ill prepared. But some kind of way, y'all, I just want to tell you, we came through. I don't know what happened. I love it. But in general, the Georgia, United States, what they saying, not so much Canada, but hey, Canada and Mexico, okay, have come together. And I'm telling you again, let's go back to TikTok. I'm here for TikTok and Tubi. That's my thing. This podcast supports those two. But on TikTok, when I tell you the feel good camaraderie, the love, everybody dancing. I'm talking about Cote d'Ivoire, Mexico, Scotland, Haiti. Like, everybody is just dancing in the streets. And then when the Knicks won, it was like, I forgot which countries were over there. They was like, what y'all celebrating? And they started dancing. Like, it's healing the world a little bit. It's showing that World War III is an abomination to Earth, obviously for chemical reasons, but for the people, my goodness. People who have criticized America, people from the United States in particular, downed us, played us, acted like we retarded. Excuse me. I know they took back the R word. You can't say the R word, but they really, Europeans really had some issues with us. It was like they really thought we were down bad. And it was good to know that the World Cup, despite FIFA really not being the best organization, still in us hosting, is my point. It showed that they were able to understand what it means to be a U.S. citizen, what it means to be a person of the United States, that we're human. And that even though their news stations, because again, it's all propaganda, it's all, whatever they're showing you, even if it's here or there. And this is important when we ask ourselves, why is this headline making the national news and not others? But it showed that we are beyond those headlines. We're real people, boots on the ground. They got the boots on the ground experience. And I love that. And we get to see it. We get to see it in the United States. And then they get to see it in their countries. And it's just, shout out to TikTok, because that's the only place that I know where you can really see it like consistently as you scroll. There's some people on Twitter, of course, Threads, of course. If you don't know what those are, I'm sorry. And Instagram a little bit, Facebook a little bit, but it spreads, of course, to the other social media apps and platforms rather. But I love it. Okay. And another thing is, by the way, I don't know if you're one of those people, because I don't know where y'all listening. Y'all could be listening in Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but I'm trying to inform you. Okay. So another part of this FIFA thing, right? I mean, the World Cup, excuse me, because I really, it is what it is. But anyway, another thing about this World Cup situation is, the United States, we knew we were hosting, right? Most citizens of the United States, we knew we were hosting the World Cup. We didn't know we were actually playing in the World Cup. Found out because I had to do a little research. I still don't know what the hell is soccer. I don't know what's going on. Shout out to those athletes though, because they be doing their thing. Okay. It's like basketball XD, but with your feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great. Anyway, so we didn't know not only were we hosting, but we were also playing. So on TikTok, this was live. I was there, y'all. On TikTok, the United States had posted, our team had posted, like, you know, the different people that were going to be on there, some kind of post. And this young lady named Diamond, right? Diamond Freeman, she said, oh my God, or maybe not OMG, but she was like, my little brother is number 16. He's on the team this year. And everybody was like, well, we got something to root for. First of all, we didn't even know we had a team. You know what I'm saying? We just thought we was hosting. But now we know we got a team and a member that we can focus on. Because, you know, black people now, again, I'm a black woman Southern. If you're not and you're listening, thank you. Happy Juneteenth. But black people love to hone in on one person. Like, we might not know what's going on, but if our cousin, you know, something is shouting out somebody else, we gonna hone in on this person, right? So we hone in on Dinah's little brother. And that's been the thing. That camaraderie is spread to Facebook, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky. Everybody's like DLB. Now, his name is Alex Freeman. He did score, okay, on Juneteenth. Hello. Won against Australia. Shout out to the U.S. soccer team. Again, we didn't even know. But see, this is what I'm saying. Sometimes when we want to chastise these things that are happening, like a TikTok, like an internet, we've got to give it some credit. Sometimes you have to reflect on yourself. You have to say, what is it about me on the internet, on the social media, where I'm looking at and receiving some of this dark material? Because I'm telling you, y'all, it's out there. The good stuff, y'all got to look at these clips. I mean, I learned so much. The Republic of Congo, okay, they stepped out, honey, with their cheetah print, real cheetah, on the shoulder, real cheetah bags. I mean, my God, they brought they kind of almost like a mascot, but something even better and more spiritual. You know, a man, he's been to all the games. He stands up the entire time and poses from a very famous prime minister. And I don't want to get into the gore details because we're on a high right now, but just know, wow, that story. But, and then you have how Mexico and South Korea are bonding as two nations because they playing each, you know, it's just like also, and maybe I don't know anything about soccer, football or whatever, but the way that the teams will play each other, but then dance in the streets, no matter who loses or wins, minus a few countries, of course, of course. Then we learn some salacious tea of how South Africa has been being xenophobic. And so everybody in Africa is rooting for everybody who plays against them, or Morocco, because Morocco got other problems, Lord Jesus. But it's just like, and everybody picks up like, you know, these are internal things that, you know, Africa got going on, but everybody else is adding on, like people from Mexico, people from, you know, Colombia and stuff. They're also saying the same joke. It's just so beautiful. I'm telling y'all, it's beautiful. I can go on and on, okay, and talk about how beautiful this week has been in terms of sports. And then on top of that, you have Juneteenth, of course, recognizing the liberation, the final notification of liberation of the enslaved black people in that town in Texas, Galveston. And to know that they weren't even the last, you know, there was also Delaware and Kentucky. And I want people to remember that. I don't know if Kentucky or Delaware has their own celebration, but of course, Juneteenth, even though it's specifically recognizing Texas, it is a amalgamation, of course, of all ancestors of African Black persons in the United States. It's a celebration of freedom. It's a celebration of forced. So one young lady said on, I think, Threads, it's a celebration of enforced freedom, because of course this is when the soldiers and the government officials were making their last rounds to let people know, hey, you're free, even despite former enslaved owners. It's over, right? And that's beautiful, because every year it gets bigger. And then I learned that there have been multiple states and cities across the United States who have been celebrating it much longer than even I have been alive or known. Found out, honey, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they got a big old celebration. I said, not Wisconsin. I didn't even know. I'm like, Wisconsin out here trying to celebrate free. I know that's right. It shows you that with the sports, with the, Juneteenth, even though some people are confused about what Juneteenth is, but that's a whole nother different subject. Maybe next year we'll tap into it. But it just shows you that all in all, with all the evil, with all the disgusting people, places, and things, their goodness actually can't override and overpower all of those things. Again, so we got the Knicks. First of all, we got the World Cup happening. Then the Knicks in 5. Then, right before Juneteenth, we have the Obama. And I got to, hold on, look this up, because I'm like, what is it even called, Lord? Because it ain't called. Okay, so basically, I did want to say and throw this nickname out of there. They were saying, what do we nickname this? So they said it was called Taj Michelle to show that, Obama built this for her because her garden is there, whatever. But hold on. Obama? Why do I want to say foundation? That's not what the heck it is, Lord. Okay, so the Obama Presidential Center, duh, Felicia. Okay, it's like, obviously it's the damn Presidential Center. Okay, so basically the inauguration, I guess you would say, call it, happened on the 18th, and then on the 19th, which was yesterday, it was the grand opening, official grand opening. And apparently it's booked up into November. I don't know how that works. I know all presidential centers are different, but I definitely got to get my butt up in there for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to get up in there. I love Chi-Town, and I love Michelle Obama, and I love Barack Obama for loving Michelle Obama. And it's like, I need to be also in the place to see what's going on. But hopefully y'all get some tickets. And hopefully y'all can get some tickets for the FIFAs. You know what I realized too? Like, some of these different celebrations, you realize people ain't that broke. Either they ain't that broke or they are broke or in debt. Because I said, Lord, me and my mom was trying to figure out how to get to one of the soccer games. Now, of course, this FIFA thing, this World Cup situation, last up until July, I think 17th or something. But still, like, girl, the tickets was $2,000 a pop. $3,000 a pop after taxes. And I said, Lord, because the stands are thick. I mean, these people are flying from all over the country, as you know, of course, repping their sets and things. But I was just like, wow, we're not all down bad, Not to say I'm down bad, but I'm just like, I'm not $3,000 up to parlay at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You know what I'm saying? All right. So June, don't forget, is Black Music Appreciation Month. That's something else to celebrate. And again, song of the day was Summer Madness by Kool and the Gang. And I just want to, shout out Kool and the Gang, because Kool and the Gang is like a multifaceted R&B, soul, funk band. And really, pretty much, they are one of those, I guess you could say, godfathers of genre itself, black music itself, because their hands are so deep in each genre: R&B, soul, funk, disco, rock, really, like everything through them has spawned multiple artists, excuse me. And it's jazz, it's everything. And I just I feel like not enough people get into Kool and the Gang, or not enough people remember. But I challenge you to go listen to some of their albums, because I'm telling you, you're going to be refreshed, you're going to feel away. And it's giving June is Black Music Appreciation Month. Okay, all right, so metaphysical break, dude. Now, incense of the season is spring. This is the last day of spring, y'all. It's Jasmine. Jasmine enhances mood, is known to reduce stress, improve emotional balance, and promote positivity. It's the last day of spring. How y'all feeling about that? Because it's giving, the weathers is giving summer weather. So I'm not a summer girl, but hey, okay. Crystal of the month is green aventurine. It is the stone of opportunity. It represents luck, prosperity, and manifestation of love. It can soothe and affirm relief and tranquility. And book of the month is the same as it was for May. Again, The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forrest. Bear with me, y'all. Okay. Now, lastly, I want to get out of here with my quote of the day. And it is by Lucy Stone, who was a womanist, well, not a womanist, a suffragist, excuse me, an abolitionist, an orator, and a very interesting white lady. I gotta, give her some credit on that. I can say. But quote of the day is by Lucy Stone. It is, I expect some new phases of life this summer, and shall try to get the honey from each moment. Amen. And I'll shade to that. Let's get to some new phases. Cheers to new phases of life this summer, and cheers to getting honey from each moment. Shout out to Lucy Stone. That's quote of the day. Shout out to you for listening to the Cotton Candy Clouds podcast. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you, or hear from you rather, next week.